preparing to live stream. I'll tell you when the load bar is done. Hey, Troy, we are streaming.
Okay. Welcome to the Saratoga Springs Planning Commission meeting for July 23rd, 2020.
It's done.
This meeting by reading a statement concerning our acre location for our meetings. I, Troy Cunningham, Planning Commission Chair, hereby determine that conducting the Planning Commission meeting location represents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. The Saratoga Springs Station, the President of the United States, the Governor of Utah, and the County Health Department have all recognized a global pandemic exists related to the new strain of the coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2 COVID-19. Due to the state of emergency caused by the global pandemic, I find that conducting a meeting at an anchor location under the current state of public health emergency constitutes a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the location. This written declaration expires 30 days from the date signed. Troy Cunningham, Saratoga Springs Planning Commission, Chair, date July 16th, 2020. Okay, next thing is we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led by Commissioner Audrey Barton.
Everyone will repeat after me, please, as soon as we get the flag up there. Everyone will repeat after me, please.
Audrey, can we hold on for a second?
The flag up there.
Yeah. I was getting some feedback, so I muted everybody. I'm getting a delay in what's going on, so hopefully this will straighten it out. But let me, all right, everybody will unmute at least. We're going to get feedback, I think, through the items here for now. But,
everyone will repeat after me, please.
Audrey, can we hold on for a second?
The flag up there.
Yeah. I was getting some feedback, so I muted everybody. I'm getting a delay in what's going on, so hopefully this will straighten it out. But let me, all right, everybody will unmute at least. We're going to get feedback, I think, through the items here for now. But,
everyone will repeat after me, please.
Audrey, can we hold on for a second?
The flag up there. So let's go ahead and we will just do this right now. If everybody will please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. So let's go ahead and we will just do this right now. If everybody will please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag of the United
Has
States
to wait a second, Dave.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. So let's go ahead and we will just do this right now. If everybody will please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag of the United
Has to wait a second, Dave.
and to the republic for which it stands,
yes.
one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. So let's go ahead and we will just do this right now. If everybody will please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag of the United
Has to wait a second, Dave.
and to the republic for which it stands,
Yes.
one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. So let's go ahead and we will just do this right now. If everybody will please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to
the flag of the United
Has to wait a second, Dave.
and to the republic for which it stands,
Yes.
one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. So let's go ahead and we will just do this right now. If everybody will please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance.
Yes.
One nation.
All right, I do not know what's going on here. Why it keeps repeating. Everyone's on mute now except me, it looks like. So everyone stay on mute until you need to speak. This is my first time running off this program, so I have no idea what's going on right now. All right, I do not know what's going on here. Why it keeps repeating. Everyone's on mute now except me, it looks like. So everyone stay on mute until you need to speak. This is my first time running off this program, so I have no idea what's going on right now. All right, I do not know what's going on here. Why it keeps repeating. Everyone's on mute now except me, it looks like. So everyone stay on mute until you need to speak. Okay, Troy, why don't you, again, I don't know what's going on here. Owen will be here shortly. He's in a conference call right now. So Troy, I'd say just start and we'll see what happens.
Okay, so we'll go with the roll call. Looks like all the Planning Commission members are in attendance and we don't have anybody out this week. The first item on item number 3 on the agenda is a public hearing for community plan major amendment and village plan for LDS welfare complex located at approximately Medical Drive and Redwood Road. Suburban Land Reserve and LEI are the applicants. And I believe Commissioner, the planning head, David Stroud, has the presentation for this one. So we'll give him a minute to see if he can sort out the feedback we're having. As soon as Dave's ready, he can go ahead and present that. So we'll give him a minute to see if he can sort out the feedback we're having.
Okay, can everybody see the screen?
As soon as Dave's ready, he can go ahead and present that. So we'll give him a minute to see if he can sort out the feedback we're having.
Shake your heads if you can see the screen. Can everybody see the screen? All right.
As soon as Dave's ready, you can go ahead and present that.
All right. This is the community plan and village plan amendment for the.
See if you can sort out the feedback we're having.
Shake your heads if you can see the screen. Can everybody see the screen? It is not advancing.
As soon as Dave's ready, you can go ahead and present that.
All right. This is the community plan and village plan amendment. There we go. For the.
See if you can sort out the.
This will be a combined community plan and village plan. Council is the authority located at Medical Drive.
Shake your heads if you can see the screen.
And Redwood Road. It is not advancing.
As soon as Dave's ready, you can go ahead.
And the applicant is Johnny Watson with JRW and Associates.
This is the community plan and village plan amendment.
There we go.
For the.
This will be a combined community plan and village plan. Council is the authority located at
Zoning
Metadata
is-
Drive. Your heads if you can see the screen.
Is planned community.
Not advanced. The applicant is Johnny Watts from JR.
The general plan is
This is the
planned community
plan
mixed
approach.
use.
There we go. For the
11.82 acres.
Plan and village plan.
Will contain 32 ERUs, approximately 70,000 square feet.
Planned community, not advanced. The applicant is
For
Johnny
Bishop
Watts.
Storehouse and Deseret Industries,
This is the planned community mixed
with
use.
90 to 98,000 square feet of landscaping. Future lot 1 will be developed under the RC standards.
Will contain 32 ERUs, approximately 70,000 square feet.
The site plan with the parking calculations,
For the Bishop Storehouse and Deseret Industries.
the landscaping plan,
With 90 to 98,000 square feet of landscaping. Future lot 1 will be developed under
and the
RC
architecture.
standards. Will contain 32 ERUs, approximately 70,000 square feet. The site plan.
David, did you complete the presentation? Still more.
And the recommended motion is approval with the findings and conditions. Then you have the option to continue or deny. Any questions?
Would the applicant like to add anything? David, did you complete the presentation? Still more.
Yes, please. We really appreciate the opportunity to before you this evening. We appreciate your patience and help to keep things moving during this difficult period. This has been a long process for us. We first sat down with David and Gordon last January, I believe, in 2019 to begin the process. To complicate the issue, I mean, obviously you guys have felt tremendous growth or still feeling tremendous growth. But our big brother to the south of us has really kept us hopping to try to modify, kind of what our original plans were. But as soon as Costco came into the picture, there had to be a lot more maybe coordination and patience, definitely on the staff part, and they've really done a great job in keeping us moving along, and we really appreciate that. It was obviously a kind of a, I wouldn't say frustrating, but it is to work with a vehicle as big as Costco. It was a little bit difficult to and the pace that they move to be able to achieve what the owner wanted to achieve, but ultimately, I think the solution has been refined to a much better solution than we originally began with, and so it's been a very productive long process. We've worked with Gordon and UDOT and Costco and David on different entry point locations. And I guess our end result is what you have before you tonight. So one of you mentioned the amount of work there, but you can see that, and through the guidance of LEI's expertise with your working in your community, they've held our hand through this process to put this document together to hopefully provide a new fantastic facility for your community, and we're excited to be in your community. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open this up to the commission for comments or questions. Do you have any commissioners that would like to?
If I could jump in here, I kind of abbreviated what was going on. I think sounds like I fixed the feedback there. Again, it's a community plan and village plan. It's a portion of the blue lot you see here. You will make a recommendation onto the city council. Again, the zoning PC and PC mixed use on the general plan. And so the full development on the property, you'll see there's a vacant lot here, lot number 1. Right now, there's no use for that lot. It is written into the community plan that whatever comes to lot 1 will follow the regional commercial standards. So basically everything around it, the landscaping, there will be more landscaping you see along here. Landscaping will be put in. So basically just the interior then at that time will be developed, will follow the regional commercial zone. Again, just your basic landscape plan here. Again, we're showing landscaping here, which is not on the previous screen. Gives you your quantities and your amounts that are located here on the left, just for your information. The architecture you see here, one thing we did ask in the review process was currently right now, these elevations on some of the sides and most of the sides do not meet what's would be required outside of the PC zone, in the sense that, you know, a lot of these walls have more than 75% of one material. They do lack some architectural changes. We did point that out. Nothing has changed. Now in the community plan, ultimately, if the council wants to approve that, they will. But just to make a note to you and to the applicant that, you know, it could become on your recommendation. It could end up coming on the city council changes to actually have some architectural changes to maybe swap materials or add materials, or make some additional, you know, pop outs, whatever, bump outs, things like that to more fully meet what's required through Title 19. And again, in the community plan, you can ask for something different. Great, if the council approves it, no problem. But that just to point that out, that could be an issue come either with your recommendation or at the time it goes to the council. Then this will be the elevations for the DI building. If you've been to any DIs around the area, I think they kind of do a standard architecture, so it's probably not a whole lot different than what we have elsewhere in the state. But our recommendation is with the findings and conditions, and again, you have the opportunity to continue or deny. And with that, Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, if I can hit my unmute button. All right, so again, I'll turn this over to the commission for any comments or questions. Ken, do you have something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is this I can't remember if this is administrative or legislative action.
It is legislative, because you are recommending approval of basically community plan is a zoning ordinance. So you're recommending approval of various standards. And so it is a public hearing. So there will, and I have not received anything, nothing came my direction to submit anything via the public. But you will have to open it up formally, and I could then say we didn't have any public comment, but you'd have to go through that process. But it is legislative. You are creating a zoning code.
Okay. Then I'd like to ask the applicant then. I mean, I actually didn't. I thought I read the whole thing, but I didn't see the part about that one building not, you know, not exactly. Yeah, this one that doesn't seem to conform precisely with our code, and it may not be a problem. But I was just wondering. I'd like to ask the applicant: is there an issue with complying, or do you not plan to, or is this like the standard design, so you prefer to go with this? Just wondering what your thinking on this is.
Yes, I appreciate that question very much. Now, I understand that we're limited in this presentation by a two-dimensional drawing. I think I can share my screen, and maybe I can't, because I have a picture of a similar facility that would give you a better idea of the colors and textures of the actual structure once it's built. if there's a way that David can allow me to share my screen.
Yeah, I will stop share. Do you have the share screen button available?
Yes.
Okay.
So this facility here is one just finished in Gilbert, Arizona. And the materials on both the Desert Industries and the Bishop Storehouse are very similar. You know, we may get a little different, tiny bit of different colorations just because our masonry plants in Utah may be a little bit different than the aggregates that we get in Arizona. But we're looking at a brick wainscot down at the bottom, then integral color CMU, and then the split face bands to give more texture. Now, the discussions that I've had with David are more the vertical elements that your title requires. And when I go back to our proposed elevation, we have added the pilasters at the corners of the building to help with that a little bit. If you look at the Bishop Storehouses around your state, typically you're going to see a like this one here in Springville it says a painted facility, painted block, and so we've gone with the integral color. But you can see with their motif of the beehive, they have stayed with a very linear, I would say, composition. The one thing about the building that as an architect, I think you need to view it as a three-dimensional mass and not just a two-dimensional elevation. And so you do get a lot of vertical change and characteristic to a person from human scale and from the human eye line. And so we have felt that as small as the building is and as irregular that the shape is, that with shadows and textures that we have more than complied with your ordinance or suggestions, you know, in that ordinance. And we would hope that the commission and the council would be able to see that we do achieve that anyway.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And then, so it does comply with all the ADA requirements then, as far as that goes. That's not a problem, is that right?
As far as
that is correct, yes.
ability.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, when we came through on the review, the front and then the picture he showed of the one in Arizona, it was the front, looks very similar to this, looked great. Our concern was these walls here. You build a building anywhere outside of the PC zone, this building would these two walls here would not work.
Is that like what did they call it, the three-sided architecture or four-sided architecture?
Four-sided, yeah. But have to have equal, you know, materials representation, equal elements.
Right.
Obviously, these two walls here obviously have less, but ultimately it's up to you and your recommendation how you would like to see it. Again, with a community plan, you're basically writing your own zoning code or approving the specific zoning code for this specific piece of property. And so it's up to your judgment, your discretion, how you'd like to do that.
So that I actually had that issue same with that very picture right there, thinking that doesn't seem to have like the three-sided or four-sided architecture. But how is that building placed with the other buildings? I mean, is it something that's visible from the road, or, you know, is it going to be a mass wall that's visible from the road, or?
Yeah, if you look back here, I think it's going to be would be the west wall and the north wall. There is the road just to the north here, so this will be somewhat visible. There's going to be a fence. There's going to be some landscaping, obviously. And as the property further to the west, again, go back to here, there's going to be a property line probably somewhere in this neighborhood right here. So the Bishop Storehouse sits here. So potentially you're going to have a building west of the storehouse building that could block it somewhat. Again, you're going to have fencing on the north, potentially. Again, it's up for you to make the recommendation how you see fit.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question and follow up to Ken's comments? So I heard that, when we look at it, we're limited by 2D drawing. You showed some pictures, and I agree, like that front facade with it looks good. But when you showed that building in Spanish Fork or Springville, I forget, the white one, that did cause me to flinch a little. The one you showed, and I'm all about I don't know that I heard the answer really as to why we are limited or why you are limited. I heard the answer of, well, look at it this way. And I say, okay, great. That's helpful. Is there other reasons as to why it is, or maybe you said it and I'm just a poor listener, and which is very likely actually, but is there other reasons why that? Is it like a maintenance issue? We just want minimal maintenance and minimal facade paint? I don't know. Like, what's...
We'd be more than happy. So if you look here, I guess you can't see my mouse. If you look on grid line G on the east elevation, one of the elevations that David has shown, you can see that shadow line from that pilaster that's on the corner of that building.
Yeah.
And we could repeat those pilasters down the face of that and the back, which is, was plenty fine, to help give some more vertical shadow lines and more detail, I guess, to that wall to help, I think, come closer to complying for what you're asking for. And we'd be more than happy to do that.
That would be terrific. Because I know a lot of times we'd ask for like windows or something like that, but it may not make any practical sense at all to ask for something like that. But the pilasters, if you can do the pilasters, that would actually be terrific, because then, like you said, it would break up the massive wall, and then that coupled with fence and with some landscaping there would probably just make it look a lot better visually, because it's going to be there for a long time. And so I think if you could do that, that would be terrific.
We'd be more than happy to do that.
I mean, that's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Would you be able to do that, Johnny, on those walls that have less architectural treatment? So basically, in a sense, 360, you add that element?
That is correct.
Okay.
Then Commissioner Cunningham, I suggest that maybe when we do the motions, that if we could add maybe a condition or something that says that the applicant would take a look at trying to enhance that those two walls with some pilasters or something that is appropriate, just to give it a little bit more visual detail and a little more compliance with the code, if that'd be okay.
Yeah. Let me correct something that we missed and open up for public comment.
And we have no public comment that came in on this item.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public comment, and I'll take some more comments from the Planning Commission if any of the other commissioners have questions I'd like to ask the applicant.
I had one, just to close off my comments, I had just one typo that I want to bring up. It's on page, sorry, my thing closed down, so I wouldn't bring it up, but it's like it's a shall type of thing, so I thought it's important that we put that in there. It's on page
You're talking about in the staff report itself?
Actually, I think it's the plan, or what do you call it? The community plan?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, dang it. Someone else could go while I find it.
Okay,
I'm happy to go on record to just say I first of all, I think the DI and the Costco are a great recipe for a long happy marriage. And we're both excited to have them both in the community. So any of my questioning or criticism wasn't. We're excited to have you, and I'm excited to give you a positive recommendation. I agree with what Commissioner Kilgore said. Creating those visual elements, some landscaping, fencing. I think we're good to go there.
Commissioner.
I just want to say, ignore what I said about the typo. It was a totally different thing. So never mind. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Commissioner Kilgore. Commissioner Barton, do you have anything to add? Would you like to make any comments about the architectural elements? Okay. Commissioner Reed, would you like to make any comments?
I just had a couple of questions. One for David on the lot 1 that's remaining vacant and it's for regional commercial. I tried to find it in the report quickly as you were talking about, but I couldn't find it. What is there any issue on sizing or scoping of with the plan here and leaving that lot the size that it would preclude us from bringing in any sort of type of that regional commercial? Like someone will come in and say, hey, you know what, we really want to be here, but that's too small. You know, I don't want us to limit our options by what's being left out front there.
No, I mean, that lot's plenty adequate to build probably a 2 or 3 tenant building, I would think. I suspect that's probably what they're going to try and market it for, but there is plenty of room.
Awesome. The other quick question I had was on the Hells Engineering traffic impact study. So in our packet on the electronic version of the PDF, it's page 140, or it says page 150 of 237. The thing that caught my eye is with this map that you have up for us, my understanding is that access point 1 is the point that would be kind of running behind the building to the north. Is that correct? Directly onto Redwood?
Talk about Redwood's here on the right.
Yeah, and then the access point 1 would be.
Is that what this is? I don't have that report in front of me.
I believe that's right. They were talking about 2 access points off of Medical Drive, and then access 1 that would be able to access Redwood Road directly. And I thought it was on the other maps and the study placed behind the building itself. The thing that was a little disconcerting to me on that, I don't know if you or Gordon have had conversations, but in the report from Hells Engineering, they said that access 1 would operate at a level of service of F during peak hours. And what was really interesting is the report almost kind of contradicted itself, because it repeated itself saying no mitigation efforts are needed, but yet it's showing here that we're already putting in something and providing an access point that's already going to operate at a level F. And to me, that just does not make a whole lot of sense. In their same report, right after they say that, they say, well, perhaps you could put in some curbing, which I've noticed we've done with Costco running down Redwood now, to limit people trying to turn left out of this access 1 onto Redwood. And I would rather see us cut the snake off at the head before we just put this in, don't try to mitigate it, knowing already from this traffic study that we're going to have an LOS of F at this access point during peak hours. To me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense why we would introduce that. And I don't know if you, Gordon, have had those conversations, or if the applicant has had those conversations with you as well. But it seems like just what's happening at the Costco construction site on Redwood, where the curve has been now put down the middle to prevent people from trying to turn left, where there may not be a light. I don't think there's going to be a light here at access 1. It just seems like it would be a good idea. I have no idea what that would take, other than I just know that I'll be in that LOSF every evening. And
yeah, rather not have it. In their first report, they were talking about level of service F on Medical Drive, and I had them revise that because it's going to be signalized. But thank you for reading the traffic study and seeing that. They still need to get a permit from UDOT. And that's UDOT's jurisdiction. we can certainly say something to UDOT about it. We can require it. The Planning Commission can make that recommendation to the City Council. So yes, the issue is raised in their traffic study, and I've kind of remained silent, waiting for UDOT's input when they require their permit.
If I could jump in on that one, David. This is Greg from LEI. I think some of the discussions had there that this was ultimately going to be a right, and that the controlling mechanism for that being a right is a median placed within UDOT. Now we can't do that as a subdivider or developer, and that has to be warranted and done by UDOT. So the intention is that this will be function as a right in the future, and that once warranted, UDOT would install that median.
And so my point is, the Planning Commission is free to make that recommendation to the City Council, and the City Council can, work with UDOT on that as well.
I appreciate, and I appreciate the clarification there. I would recommend that. I just don't think it's good practice on our part as a commission to. I'm very happy to have this potential project. I don't want this to be a deal breaker by any means, but I just don't think it's good stewardship on our part as a planning commission to say, hey, we're happy introducing an LOSF to make this go. So I understand it's out of control of the developer, it's out of control of the city. It is a UDOT-owned road, but I'd very much appreciate if we could include that in the recommendations that the City Council inquire with UDOT and hopefully prioritize that.
Yeah, and I'd imagine this would be, as soon as this is built, it would warrant that. So it's going to be one of those carts and horses with UDOT.
Okay, Commissioner Wagstaff, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
I don't, thanks.
Okay, so just to summarize things, it looks like generally we're happy with everything. We would like some additional architecture elements added, and I agree with that. And then also what Commissioner Ryan brought up about the recommendation to have the City Council make a recommendation to UDOT to see if they can expedite putting in an element for the right in, right out turn. Hopefully that's correct. So I'll go ahead and
be a median similar to what's being installed with Costco.
Okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate that happening before the Costco opens, right? That's the discussion we just had, right? The cart before the horse is Costco's doing it or UDOT's doing it knowing that there's going to be an issue there. And I would like to see us do the same thing here, because if we're already having traffic impact study that's saying, look, you have an LOSF, I think we should take care of it prior to, so.
Yeah, so I've spoken to UDOT about it. They just haven't received the application for the permit yet. So they'll speak up when they see that application.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Saratoga Springs Welfare Complex Community Plan and Village Plan with the findings and conditions in the staff packet. Also adding the condition, one condition to request the applicant to take a look at enhancing the, I don't remember the direction of the walls. The walls visually with like pilasters or some such detail that would bring it closer into compliance to code, and also with the condition that the City Council look at recommending, suggesting to UDOT to bring the access point 1 to mitigate the LOSF condition at access point 1 with possibly a right medium installed. Does that sound right?
Sounds great.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Kilgore and a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any question on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Looks like the motion carries unanimously. So thank you, LEI and
Thank you.
Suburban Land Reserve.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to being in your community.
All right. So the next item, number 4, is an update to code Title 19 regarding definitions of land use regulations in residential and non-residential zones and clear site triangle design standards. And this is city initiated and will be presented to us by Planning Director Stroud.
Yeah, these are separate items on the agenda, but I think we can take them together. Then their staff report together. Just to make a note here, public item 13.08.01, that is not a public hearing item. Title 13 does not have to have public hearings. You can make a recommendation, however. I will switch screens here because I'll bring up the text. I'll pull up my staff report directly. We can go over those items. All right, is the staff report showing up? Can you see it on screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, good. Saw some nodding heads, so all right. So the first change to Title 13 is actually coming from our code compliance inspector, Brad Davis, and things that he has to go around and enforce, which would be adding item number 7 here under the illegal parking in general, just to say that you can't park a vehicle or trailer or RV that will overhang a sidewalk or that is parked on any portion of the park strip between the curb line and the sidewalk. Obviously, if you're parking on or across the sidewalk, that does have tendency to, obviously get interference for pedestrians, people on bicycles, that sort of thing. And then, parking any portion of the park strip, theoretically, technically, that's city property in most areas. You could do damage to landscape, and even though the property owners maintain it, you could get ruts in the landscaping. If there are any water meters that are in the park strip, potentially you could, have a water meter issue. And so Brad would like this Title 13 to be amended to include number 7. Under the public hearing items, these are just kind of cleanup things. You know how we got rid of the all conditional uses. So this is just deleting references to conditional use. Under the self-storage, this is just an addition right now. It's already there in the parking code for mentioning that you can have an on-site caretaker residence. Just thought it was wise to actually include it here as well. We want to include vehicle storage, also does not include sales or rentals. Sales was already written in there, made sense to actually include rentals as well. Again, getting rid of some conditional use permit language. This here would change the setbacks for accessory structures that require a building permit to go from 5 feet to 2 feet. A lot of times you get a 5 foot, right now we're at 5 feet for those that need a building permit. A lot of times that becomes dead area, weeds and whatnot. And yes, it'd be up to the owners to maintain, but it really becomes a dead area at that point. Now, most of our subdivision plats have 5 foot easements around the perimeter and the rear. So before an accessory building could even be built 2 feet, they would have to go through the process to vacate the public utility easements. Now, the 2 foot is there because obviously most residential properties have a fence. If we went to 0, technically really hard to meet a 0 setback anyway. Especially if there's a fence, you've got to get around to it to build it. You need to drain water onto your own site. So 2 foot is not uncommon for setbacks on accessory buildings. This is just also, more of making this more readily known to anyone looking to build accessory structure. Accessory structure requiring a building permit shall not be located over PUE. Now, state code kind of defaults where it says, hey, if there's a public utility easement, the owner's responsible for knowing that it's there. And if they do build something over the easement, then it's up to the owner to pay to have it removed or relocated or whatever it may be. It would not be the easement holder to have to go through that and do any kind of compensation to the property owner. Looking at setbacks here, so some of our zones, you can go 40 to 50 feet high, but yet the way the code is written right now, you could be 25 feet from a property line. I thought it would be wise to actually do that incrementally, where we do have a minimum, but if you exceed that minimum height, then your setback would also equal the height of the building. So incrementally, it gets further and further away the higher you go. Again, that does take out the problem of having a 50-foot building that you could have potentially, 25 feet from a property line. And so that's the bulk of those changes there as far as the setback. So we did a few of them several months ago. Did not get these other ones in at that time, but these three you see here in black, those were changed just long ago. Not quite the same, but the intent is to get those further away as the height goes up. The clear sight triangle, I will turn this over to Gordon. This was his change here. So Gordon, if you want to chime in.
So the thing I'm familiar with is the table that I gave you. Yeah, the table and the figure. Essentially what we did here is just provide a little table and a figure that made it easy to understand what's already in what we call the AASHTO Green Book. That's the American Association of State and Highway Transportation Officials. The site triangle that we had previously in Title 19 was it represented a through condition instead of a stopped condition, and that was requiring very invasive site triangles, more than were necessary. So we changed it in harmony with AASHTO to represent a stopped condition and make it easy for staff and for applicants to interpret it. That's all.
And then going further down, so these are our current standards right now. So we'd be deleting those. And we would keep this as a residential, as a driveway, and a public road. We'd still maintain that. But again, deleting those sections there. And then the paragraph here explaining where it's coming from, how to the rationale behind it. Any questions from the Planning Commission on any of these changes, proposed changes?
Okay, before we go to questions, this is a public hearing. So do we have any public comments that we need to?
We did not have any electronic public comments submitted.
So we'll go ahead and close the public comment time, and I'll turn that over to the commission for questions or comments.
Yeah, I had one question. So actually, I think the plan director Stroud has explained it has to do with the setbacks. So I was wondering if we go down to 2 feet, wouldn't that actually cause more weeds because you can't get a lawnmower down 2 feet? And so what happens in between in that 2 feet? But you explained though that 2 feet is actually a common setback for accessory buildings. So I guess people really don't have much of a problem when it's 2 feet as far as getting in between there and keeping the weeds down, or
Yeah, and I use an example of I have a shed in my backyard where I'm probably 2 feet on each side.
Yeah.
I can still get around there. Yes, that it still can collect stuff, but you're obviously not going to go grow grass, especially if you have a fence, just because you won't get any light and whatnot, most likely. But
Right.
2 feet is still doable as far as getting back there and cutting something down, pulling, spraying weeds, whatever it may be.
Okay. All right. So then that was all I had. I was just wondering if 2 feet is a common standard, and it sounds like it is. So if that's the case, then sounds great.
I just have a question real quick, just about the parking or the sidewalk and that sort of stuff. So, and it might be kind of a silly, I mean, we have 6 people in our house and we all have cars. So is this, is it more for safety? Is it just something that other cities are doing? It's something that the patrons in our city have been concerned about? Why, I mean, do you know a little bit more about why this is put on there?
Yeah, complaints and enforcement by Brad. He needs something that had more teeth in it. Obviously, the sidewalk, you're not going to block the sidewalk. You need to leave that open for pedestrian travel. And then again, the park strip, damage to landscaping, potential damage to a water meter, whatever it may be.
Okay.
You can still park out on the street.
Well, we can't in our neighborhood. That's why it's a concern. And we've talked about it a lot here where we can't park on our street. And so everything has to be up in the driveway. So a lot of times, and especially because our neighborhood has been around for a long time. And so now all our kids are getting older. And so I drive all over and there's a lot of cars in each driveway. And so, and it's fine. And of course we'll comply and everything. So I just was kind of wondering the background on it, where we can't park on the street. We have to park in our driveway. And I mean, we even have RV parking and we still have, of course we have 6 of us with 6 cars, but I also see it again, a lot around with neighbors and stuff like that. So just kind of, I guess in the neighborhoods with the HOAs where you can't park on the street, I don't know, like what do we tell our residents about that?
Are you on a private street by chance? Or a public?
I'm down in a cul-de-sac, so it's private. But of course the HOA doesn't let us.
Well, the street itself. Do you have sidewalks on both sides of your street?
Oh yeah. We're on a cul-de-sac, but yeah, there's sidewalks everywhere.
So you're most likely public then.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of cities say no parking on grass, no parking on landscaping. This just kind of goes along with that. Yeah. So you're saying in your neighborhood, people pull up part way onto the park strip to get more?
Not really on the park strip. Where like at my house we have our driveway, but we also have our RV park on the side. But even when we get our cars up there and our cars on the driveway, we still have them sticking out at the bottom over the sidewalk, not the landscaping or anything like that, but we are over the sidewalk at the bottom of our driveway because
mostly just a safety thing for pedestrians. Now, if you give me your address, I'll give it to Brad and he can go enforce it.
Right. No, it's fine. And we try our best not to do that. But again, when we can't park on the street and we're trying to, get everybody up in the driveway and stuff like that. But we do have little kids as well. So we'll move as much as we can because we don't want little kids on the street. Right. But I was just kind of wondering what was behind that. I figured that we probably had some residents that, I think it's an issue and we're the ones who are doing it a lot of the time.
We'll get complaints from people saying, hey, my kid can't ride their bike down the sidewalk because there's a car there or a trailer hitch or something, so.
Yeah. Okay. So no, I'll talk to who is doing it, Brad. I just want to, find out like really with an HOA when we can't park on the street, what's an option? We have neighbors who just drove in who have 7 people in there, who just moved in who have 7 people in their family. And so I don't know if we just get rid of vehicles or do our best, but yeah, just a question because I think it's just kind of a real big thing right now in my neighborhood with that. So
I would suspect most of these will do on a complaint basis too.
Yeah. And that's, again, I understand that as well. So yeah, it was just a question. And because I'm in that part of life right now where I have a lot of junky cars and teenagers. So thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Actually, when I saw this, I was somewhat surprised we didn't already have it in code.
Yep, we don't. Now, was it there in the past and came out? I don't know. But Brad doing his, daily enforcement. Brad's on the road most of the day. We rarely, and when we weren't under COVID restrictions, we'd rarely see Brad in the office in the morning, maybe in the evening, maybe. So he's always out there driving around and working on these things. This is something that he thought would be necessary, that we actually have something, some teeth in the code to enforce that.
Okay. I guess the next question is he going to be the one to enforce the no parking on the street when it snows? Is that what he does?
Brad, last winter was Brad did it, as well as the police helped us out with that as well. So
Okay.
Sam and the police department, who used to do what Brad was doing, I know Sam had been taking care of that. Brad was also doing it. They're working together as a team on that.
All right.
See, that's where my concern is. We can't ever park on the street and we don't fit in our driveway anymore. So I don't know, right? Especially in the winter time. And we never park on the street in the winter, of course, because but yeah.
Can the HOA modify the rules? I mean, it seems like that.
We don't have very wide roads in Harvest Hills. And I like that no park on the road rule here because it really is squishy. So I agree with that. It's just with all of our teenagers and stuff like that. But it's just, again, it's not a concern that we can't, we'll figure it out. But
if you're on a public road, you're going to be the older standard that we changed from a few years ago. You're going to have, the right of way itself will be 56 feet. And off the top of my head, Gordon can correct me, 26 feet of asphalt, maybe on a local road. Yeah, it can get a little tight. That's why we increased the asphalt width and the right of way width to 59.
Right.
A few years back, but
yes, right now the standard calls for 29 feet of asphalt.
Yeah. So if your HOA would amend their, or their bylaws or CCNRs to allow parking, obviously that would solve the problem, but that'd be something you'd have to do privately with your HOA.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'll entertain a motion. Do you have a motion you can put up on the screen?
Yep, I'm going to it right now.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Ryan. Based on the evidence and explanations received today, I move to forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the proposed amendments to sections 13.08.01, 19.0202, 19.0403, 19.0407, 19.0410, 19.0511, 19.0611, with the findings and conditions in the staff report dated July 16th, 2020.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Ryan and a second from Commissioner Barton. Is there any question on the motion? No question. Well, on the motion, we'll go ahead and all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Looks like the motion passes unanimously. So number 5, the item number 5 was part of the last prior discussion. So we'll go on to approval of minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to look over the minutes? Any questions or additions we need to make to the minutes at this time? If not, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
This is Commissioner Ryan. I motion to approve the minutes from Thursday, June 25th, 2020.
Second.
So Commissioner Ryan with the motion and Commissioner Kibler with the second. Any question on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Okay, that passes. Reports of action.
No reports of action.
Any commissioner comments this evening? Okay, director's report.
Mayor and I a few weeks ago did some interviews for your planning commission vacancy. We had 4 slated to interview, 1 backed out, so we interviewed 3. And so I suspect hopefully the next city council meeting, the council will appoint your 7th planning commissioner. And so we'll get back up to a full body at that time. Costco's Costco will be opening up August 13th. I want to say they're doing a big 8 o'clock. They are doing membership signups right now. If you don't have one, go get one. And so it'll be a big thing starting there. I think it's really going to make that area take off once Costco gets going.
I've lived here for a really long time, and that might be the most exciting news we've ever had is Costco. Seriously.
Oh, I know. I want to say something. My son just got his first job. He's 16. He just got his first job at Smith's as a courtesy clerk. And I want to say, I think it's cool that he can get a job 4 miles from our house. My first job, I had to commute 30 miles, and that's in San Diego, you know. And so it's terrific that our town can now at least start to support jobs where kids, you know, kids especially, can go there and don't have to drive 30 miles or someplace before they could, earn a wage. And I think it's terrific that Saratoga Springs is developing those kinds of, those kinds of jobs and giving those opportunities for our kids without having to drive all over the county. I think it's terrific.
Hey, David, will you expound on more details on how that area is going to explode? Can you drop any names?
I can't. I cannot do that.
I
know nothing.
David's got his poker face all the time.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously Costco is going to have a lot of traffic. And so it's just going to drive development there. People are going to want to locate there because you have the pass-through traffic, the secondary shoppers. And so I think big things are going to really start there.
And can I just say, Ray, I appreciate bringing up the traffic study on that thing. I think the last thing Saratoga citizens want to see is more crazy traffic and more, intersections where it's hard to get out and you're worried to death about your 16-year-old who just got a job and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you bringing that up and making it something that we added on to the motion. I think that's, again, the last thing that we want to see here is something like that.
Ditto. That's good. Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It just, 8 years of hard experience now sitting on Redwood Road. And it's only, I hate to say it, but I've kind of enjoyed with the COVID pandemic going on, the traffic decrease.
Right.
As someone who's still, having to go to offices and work and whatnot, I think we're due, once this pandemic lifts, we'll be back to a hard reality about just how popular our city is, and the traffic will show that. So.
That's great here, and I know why people love it, but we've got to watch for that kind of stuff. So thank you.
How do traffic studies work now? Because we can do traffic studies and any kind of traffic studies since March, aren't they all skewed in some form? I'm serious.
That's actually a really good question. We laugh, but it's true.
Yeah, I thought about that in that engineering traffic study, when it was the timing of it, if it was done during this COVID pandemic.
Yeah, that the traffic study today, it did say that they took it into account that there's lower traffic right now, and so they actually looked, I think, 6 months back or something like that. It did say on there that they took into account, the fact that it's going to be lower counts right now. So I did notice that, at least that one. But then Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are very thorough, and so I don't know if all traffic studies would do that.
That's true.
Okay, the only other item we have left is a possible motion to enter into closed session. We need that.
No need for a closed session.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at this time. Thanks for attending, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Yep.